Connie Willis, the podcast. Taking you into new ways of thinking, even providing answers to questions you've often pondered. Connie Willis, the podcast. This is a Connie Willis exclusive. What you're about to hear has never been heard anywhere else. This is Connie Willis, the podcast.
Connie Willis, the podcast. Connie Willis here, Phase 2 series with Robert Treat, the informant, private military government contractor, U.S. Navy special warfare veteran. You want it more? You got it? Robert continues to speak again why the aliens are here and more. We're going to bring up your questions here in just a few minutes here. I want to ask Robert a few other things, but just to remind you, you can hit him up with his blog and ask him questions and read what else he's got going on and see some pictures he's going to show and learn all about the girls that are behind us or behind him right now that are talking away over there and giving you more information at robtreat.com. You'll have to put up pictures of your dogs as well, robtreat.com, and you can check out his GoFundMe and anything else there, as well as the updates for his surgery February 20th coming up. Is that Haley?
That's Lila.
Lila, okay. Haley, Lila, and...
Sheila.
Did you name them?
Yeah.
They're such girly girl names. That's so good. All right, so I had a ton of questions about something you brought up, and here's one of them. They wanted you to go, and I don't know if you can, because I think you went as deep as you could, and I think you want to go deeper, and that is, a lot of people want to know about that blue pearl. Tell us more about the blue pearl.
Okay. I'm not sure what the blue pearl actually is.
Got to ask your guide.
Well, no, I have asked, and I don't get an answer to that.
Oh, interesting.
Whatever is beyond it, we're not supposed to experience. And if we do experience it, it probably means that your physical body will die. You won't come back from it.
I wonder if that's just death, though. Is the blue pearl just simply death when we move on, or do you think it's different?
I think it's different. It's like some sort of boundary, and even when the first time I heard about simulation theory, I thought of that blue pearl. Because if this universe is a simulation, right? And like we said earlier, there's so many great minds that actually, believe it is. And even like major religions like Judaism, they talk about the 1%. They say that, we're only 1% here. 99% of you, that the real you is somewhere else. That what you think is you here is just a projection into this reality. That's what some of their greatest historical rabbis actually write about this. Like the Baal Shem Tov, he writes about, the fact that we're just a projection into this reality, and that there's 99 other yous, right? And but that the real you is somewhere else. And I think, this is just my opinion, because nobody's ever given me an answer to what the blue pearl is, but I think the real you, the real me, the real us, the real reality lies on the other side of the blue pearl. So if we go back into the real reality, that we won't come back into the simulation.
And that's why I think it's still death. It still sounds like crossing over.
Yeah.
Because everything you described is crossing over.
Yeah, and in this reality, I guess that would be death.
Yeah.
If we die in the simulation, do we wake up in the real world? Right?
And right. So my show, my personal video membership show, community show, is Blue Rock Talk. Blue Rock is Earth, the blue rock. And this is the blue pearl. And if you look at it from the outside, looking at the planet that we've seen the pictures of, that I believe are real, it looks like a blue pearl too. It's been referred to as the blue marble, the blue rock, like I like to say, but the blue pearl. So it's leaving Earth.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I'm just throwing that out. What do you think?
well, simulation theory is a real mind blower. I mean, in every way. Like we look out and we see, other stars, other galaxies. They might not even be there. They might just be projections.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, but simulation theory also explains some inexplicable things, like you know, the way UFOs behave, for example. They seem to just completely defy physics, and even when you look at the craft and try to reverse engineer it, you can't figure out the propulsion system. It's almost like it's not a propulsion system at all. So if this is a simulation, then whoever programmed the simulation can make anything act the way it wants to act, even in a physics-defying way. So could UFOs just simply be, other agents of a computer program that's the lines of code that bind us into some sort of, physics loop, isn't a binding code on them, so they can do things that we can't because the code that we're operating under is different. And I've actually heard, some top scientists talk about this, that, the way what we call supernatural beings, spiritual portals that ghosts and demons walk in and out of. If this is a simulation, then all of that stuff is completely plausible, right? And we can't say that ghosts don't exist because millions of people have experienced it. We can't say Bigfoot doesn't exist because many people have experienced it. The same thing with UFOs and many, many other things that there's, and they say, oh, it's just a mass hallucination. Like, oh, come on, like that doesn't happen. Like, you don't have a schizophrenic hallucination and then you're totally sane 30 seconds later. That's not the way schizophrenia works. Right?
If we're the perfect robots that they made, where we are getting better and better and closer to imitating one of us, okay, because, that's what somebody wants to do. But they had created us. Let's just go there, that they did that with us. And, hey, it's like a computer. They only gave us so many programs. And that's why we only know so many programs, and we don't know their programs. And they didn't put the program in that says that they are real and what the real story is and how we were made. They just put in the programs they wanted to put in so they can watch and observe and see what we do and how that works and what this is about. And, just one big freaking project.
Think about what she told me, that this vessel was created for me and I chose to come here.
Yeah. Ticket to ride.
Does that not sound like that they create a simulated body and I chose to jack into it? I mean, is that what this is? And
Yeah.
if it is, right, do we not, as a species, have a degree of control over that simulation? Can we affect it? Of course we can. Go back to the double slit thing. When we observe the double slit test, by the act of observing it, we affect its appearance, its state.
Okay.
Right? So if our observation of a thing changes its state, not only in the present, but retroactively through time, right? What more are we capable of as a species? And we've heard sages throughout the centuries and millennia talk about that we have the power to make changes. Buddha talked about it. Jesus said, all these miracles you've seen me perform, you can do also and greater.
I agree with you, but what about the times where you focus and focus and focus and pray and pray and pray and do everything possible and it doesn't happen? What about that? Is it already predestined? Did you pick it? Did somebody else pick it? Or the simulation you're talking about it? Is it the old, some teenage ETs looking at Earth and playing the game? We're just in the game. They're moving us around. There was a lady that died. It was one of the near-death experiences I read about, and a lady had died, came back. She told what she saw, and what she saw, I think it was her and her kid, or let's just say it was her in a car, and she was driving, and she had seen what had happened in her death, and what she saw of her death. So even before, it wasn't just her laying there. It was a car accident, and her car went off a mountain, if I remember exactly. I think that was like that, and she died. And so when she had passed, she was looking around, and what she had seen too, so she saw it before it happened too. It's like a dream, you're all over the place, right? But she had actually seen this it was like a dark room, I believe she said, and there was this table, and there were 4 entities around it, and they had like Grim Reaper type robes over her. I'm just saying Grim Reaper robes so people will know what kind of robes they are. She wasn't saying like it was death and scary and crazy. She just had said there were these 4, like figures looking over this table. They had these hoods, and she said it was like a game. It was like they were playing a game. And what she looked down at the table as a simulate. It was video. It was a picture of her car going over this bridge or whatever it was, and they literally flicked it with their finger, and that's when she had went off, and she said, "This is a freaking game. They're playing with us. They just flicked me off. They decide when and where what they want to do." That's what she came back after she had passed to say.
Maybe they were dressed as Grim Reapers because the simulation staff were having a joke. Hey, when she wakes up, let's all be dressed like the Grim Reaper. Kind of like when the astronauts came back and all the NASA staff was dressed up like Planet of the Apes.
This is a Connie Willis exclusive on Connie Willis, the podcast. Learn more about Connie, her guests, and join her private membership shows, Blue Rock Talk and Connie After Dark, at ConnieWillis.com.
We are back with Mr. Treat, Rob Treat, RobTreat.com. You can go. He's going to be like exploding with writings and the blog because he's pretty good at that, by the way. You'll get to learn more and more about him. I'm going to have some nice pictures and even pictures of the dog. You got to have pictures of your dogs, the girls. Okay, so we're the robotics, we're, whatever. We can go on and on about these things, but we definitely want to know exactly what you do know. People want to know what you do know, Robert. They some of this that we've been talking about, you have information on, and then you and I kind of theorize a little bit, and you theorize, and I theorize, and we have a good time with that, and I love that, and I can do that forever. But there are certain things you totally, absolutely know, and people want to get a little deeper into that. So we can either go right to the questions of some of the other people, but I know you also had some things that you wanted to talk about. Well, let me get a good question in first, and then some of the things you wanted to make sure you talked about. We'll get to that too. So let me ask you this. One of the people did want to know. You had said you were talking about the bad DNA, that they're coming back to fix us, to or they're not happy that we're not doing as we should, and we need to be positive. We need to get out of what we are. And you had said they had created us, and that it's all in the DNA. So their question is, well, why don't they just fix our DNA?
I think it's a process. Well, it is a process that has to evolve naturally. As we weren't originally created to be a breeding species. That was something that was added later. With the ability to reproduce, comes the ability to improve or degrade our genetic code. The desired outcome is for us, we have the potential genetically to become a perfect species, which means we would have all the power and ability of our creators. And we're eventually going to get there. And they are not going to allow us to carry our lower natures into a higher form. Meaning when we reach the point of having the same power and abilities as they do, see, they're not a violent species, but we are. There's nothing more dangerous to the universe, to all life in the universe, than a violent, dangerous species having that kind of power. But in evolution after evolution, which means, each time the human race is wiped out, like the most recent time was the flood, which every major culture talks about the Great Deluge. It wasn't the first time we were wiped out. Um, we periodically get wiped out, our numbers culled back down to sometimes just a few thousand individuals, and then we restart and it gets, better and better each time, but we're still a violent species. So does this current iteration of humanity have the ability to outgrow its lower nature, or does it have to be culled back and start again? Evolution 7 or 8 or whatever we're into now, I don't know. But that is, definitely the point. One group of aliens who I refer to as the fallen, they clearly just want this to be over, right? So the fallen, along with their counterparts of other races, including humans, are going for that, basically to keep us on the negative trajectory we're in. The human elites that are in cahoots with the extraterrestrial races, they believe that they can use the fallen and that they can use the reptilians to make themselves the superior race in the universe, which is completely insane, in my opinion. But that's how they see themselves, is they can actually defeat the Primarchs, and that that their bloodline will become the dominant life form in the universe. And I think it's that arrogance that leads to the vast majority of their plans and schemes not working out the way they planned. Because they think that they're smarter than the Primarchs, and they're not. They're just making things, exponentially worse. And that's why what I said in one of our earliest interviews was that these people, these beings that are leading us down the wrong road, and this is the only thing that I really wanted to address, is that the cabal, the fallen grays, the reptilians, and the cabal humans, they're not as powerful as they lead us to believe. And we can neutralize their agenda and become what we're supposed to become very, very quickly. We just need to stop doing certain things. Stop thinking things matter that don't matter just because we're told by the cabal that they matter. I'm not going to get political, but you can see it in our political arena. Everything's become political. Everything's become more divided, and that's what the cabal wants. That's not what the Primarchs want for us. They want all of that to truly not matter. We don't need to argue about this stuff, because the more we argue about it, the more we build anxiety and tension. We're actually feeding the very effect that we need to be neutralizing. So that's the Primarch's agenda, and that's the one message that they've pretty much. I think every hybrid will say the same thing about that.
And that's the taller grays. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. The Primarchs are the mantids.
They're the mantids.
The mantids.
And they're really the primary enforcement agents of the creator race.
And now, did you give the answer that you wanted to give about the DNA, them fixing it? Why not just fix it?
It has to be an evolutionary choice. If
Why?
They could come in and fix it, but that puts us back to being a slave race again, which is what we were originally created to be.
Who thinks that? That's wrong. Fix it. Fix it. Make us better. They have the ability. They have the technology.
We have to earn it. We have to earn our place, and we have to earn our place in the universe, or we don't deserve to have a place.
See, I think that's just a human thought. I don't think that's their thought. I think they're like, well, we made you in the first place. We pulled stock. You were talking about stock. We pulled stock from over here, whatever. Okay, it's a mess. What do? We'll fix it.
No, with them, they destroy their mistakes.
Well, see, because I think we're the ones about, it's a lesson. That's just something that we've done. Because something won't work. There's something bigger. Maybe it's just that they're watching the evolution. They could fix it. They've just decided, no, we're going to watch, see if you do it or how long. So maybe...
yeah, they could fix it. They certainly have the power to.
Right. So, yeah.
Why they don't? I mean, all I know is from their point of view, we have to earn our place. And maybe it's similar to, I mean, because we're created in their image in practically every way. Parents who, try to force their kids to be perfect end up raising monsters. And they definitely guide us to be better. They tell us everything we need to be better. It's just we want to act like turds all the time. When we stop being little pedantic crapheads, then things will truly start to change for us as a species.
Let's see what happens. Go to robtreat.com. He'll have his blog out there blossoming, and you can learn a little bit more. You're listening to Connie Willis, the podcast. More to come. Rob Treat, Connie Willis.
Informant. What you just heard has never been heard anywhere else. This is Connie Willis, the podcast. Informant. Learn more about Connie, her guests, and be sure to join her private membership shows, Blue Rock Talk and Connie After Dark, at ConnieWillis.com. Whistleblower.